the American Fork City Council meeting. It's March 24th of the year 2026, and it's just 2 minutes after 7 o'clock. I would note for the public record, and we'll note it again in the roll call, Councilmember John is at a water meeting, if you can believe that, something to do with water, but he has another obligation to be to tonight, so he could be joining us later on, but we'll see. Currently, he's not here. So we will begin with a public hearing. And we're here to receive public comment on the declaration of real property consisting of approximately 8.5 acres and located at approximately 700 west and 800 south as surplus. Anybody that would like to make a comment in this public hearing, we'd invite you to come forward and please state your name for the public record.
Please do so.
Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public comment and we'll move on to our regular session. So we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, after which we'll have an invocation by Councilmember Taylor, and then I will conduct the roll call. If everybody please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our Heavenly Father, as we bow our heads and come before Thee this evening, we are grateful for the freedoms which Thou hast given us that would allow us to assemble and to conduct the affairs of this City Council meeting this evening. We are grateful, Heavenly Father, for all the gifts and blessings that we have enjoyed that come with being citizens of the United States of America. We pray that we might always be mindful of the time and the lives and the hearts that have gone into protecting our freedom, providing our freedom, that we might not take these things for granted. Likewise, Father, we pray for those who are in harm's way in this latest conflict and all that surrounds us in this world. We pray for Thy guidance and help, and we pray for Thy deliverance. We are thankful, Father in heaven, for those good people who serve us in this city, the citizens and the businesses and our city staff. And we ask that Thou would bless and watch over all of them and give them strength and guide them in the activities that they are in and the hard work that they provide in our behalf. We are grateful that Lieutenant Colonel Hawley is back with us safely on United States soil, and we are appreciative of him and his service. Pray that Thou would continue to bless and be with his family. Father in heaven, we petition Thee with all of our hearts, and we beg of Thee the moisture that we desperately need. That Thou will bring the moisture and the rain, or however we can receive it, that we might better fill our reservoirs, at least to a greater degree than we have now. And as we pray for these things, Father in heaven, we also ask that we will be blessed to be good stewards of what we have, that we will be mindful of our resources and do our best to protect them and to preserve them. But as the great Creator, Thou hast all power, and Thou can bring these things if it is Thy will, and we pray that Thou would bring all that Thou would allow for us at this time. Now please be with us in this meeting, that we might have Thy guidance, that we might conduct the affairs of the city civilly, that we will be able to determine those things that are in the best interest of our city and act accordingly. And we express our appreciation and love for all that we have been given, and we do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I'll now conduct the roll call. Councilmember Hunter.
Here, Mayor.
Councilmember Hawley.
Here.
Councilmember John is currently absent. Councilmember Carroll.
Here.
Councilmember Taylor.
Here.
Okay, we'll now move on to item number 2. It's time we set aside for anybody that is present that would wish to make a public comment to address the mayor, the council, the senior staff, We'd invite you to come forth at this time. I do have two that have submitted papers with information. I'm going to start with these two, but we're not limited to these two. We'll start off with Mr. Mark Reuters. I know I've said your name, but I'll ask you to restate it, and we'd love to hear what you have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. My name is Mark Roylance. I'm a resident of the city, and I appreciate that prayer that was given. What I wanted to address tonight was action item number 4, which is American Forks Irrigation Discount Policy. And my comment is brief. It's American Fork, I know, doesn't want to appear to be a bully to minor shareholders in devaluing their family assets. One share of American Fork Irrigation is 2 acre-feet of water. That's 651,702 gallons, which is supposed to be delivered to the stockholder for about $40 annual assessment. This is 6 cents per 1,000 gallons delivered. American Fork secondary water is over $2 per 1,000 gallons, and when PI was installed, the city promised the water would not be metered. It appeared that the city did not push back on the state's outdoor water meter policy to honor its promise. Hopefully it's not about money or conflict of interest like Councilmember Ernie John, who is also the water master and president of the American Fork Irrigation Company. That's 3 big hats, and only one hat is allowed to avoid conflict of interest. American Fork, I'm sure, would recognize this. The city has not been treating minority shareholders fairly. Not only does the city not pay storm drain fees to American Fork Irrigation, it also devalues family stock with bad policies like the one promised tonight, and without notice to all shareholder families. I recommend the city pause this policy until all American Fork Irrigation families are notified of this policy for their input, because it impacts family resources. The shareholders have not received this. As a comment, why would anyone buy shares for $1,000 discount on their high secondary water bill? American Fork City holds anti-family and anti-minority because the board of AFI is shareholders, which it has not.
And then we'll have Struthers come forward.
Good evening, members of the City Council. I'm Shelley Struthers, and I just want to appreciation for the city to clarify policy regarding with the American Irrigation Company. I also my family has been working since October of last year with the city shareholder agreement properties using shares and applying them to properties. Communication with council members and city staff throughout that time, and we received today. I'm actively working through this process and continue and complete verification. I just wanted to publicly acknowledge that and express our city's willingness to ensure a fair those of us who have been working for the past several months. Thank you for your consideration.
Is there any public comment? Close the public comment. We'll move on. Our city administrators.
Contribute tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
We'll move on to Councilmember Hunter.
I have no.
Councilmember Holly.
Just grateful to be back. Yes, it is always a great feeling to this beautiful country that we have, and then even better to drive up Main Street and come back into our little city that we live in. So just grateful to be back, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Carroll.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll give a brief report. Just that we are in the middle of our Park Tax Advisory Board granting season. The board has last week heard a bunch of applicants give their pitch for why they wanted to have funding, and then this week, tomorrow, there will be another round of that, and then the committee will go into deliberation. So just keeping you an update on where we are in that process. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Taylor?
I have nothing to report, Mayor.
Okay, a couple items that I would like to report. I had the opportunity, we do it every year, about this same time of year. I'm invited to participate and go on a route with Meals on Wheels. And so you just kind of fit your schedule, they fit you in, and you get to go with a driver and a member of MAG staff, and you just randomly pick the people on that route, and you get to go to their front door. You get to introduce yourself, you get to learn a little bit about them, and it was quite fun. I found myself in familiar territory, almost where I grew up as a child, so I knew almost every one of them. One of them, Lamar Cox. If you have hunter safety and you're 60 years or younger, Lamar Cox probably taught you hunter safety. Lamar, as I talked to him, he's very open to share. He cannot see. And I talked to him about hunter safety, and he just lit up. And he said that it was reported to him that he had taught over 40,000 kids hunter safety. And here he is in his senior years, and this is a great resource to him. Second one was Mrs. Bigley. knows all the, Councilmember Taylor knows the Bigleys on King Street. We grew up with their sons who are now gone. It's her grandkids that are great support to her. And I just found it was just so much fun to connect with a couple people and the others. One of the highlights for me was to see the connection between the drivers that go there every day and the people. And it's not uncommon that that's the only human action they receive during the day. And they better not be 5 minutes late. It's uncanny. But it was really just a delightful, uplifting experience to participate and just see kind of a glimpse of the Meals on Wheels that happen all throughout the state. Luckily, the state legislature protected their funding. There's still about a 300-person waiting list in the state of Utah, and they provided alternate funding. If funds are raised, the state legislature will match that funding mechanism up to a certain threshold. So I think I'm going to be a fundraiser for Meals on Wheels. Second thing I'd report, and I really appreciate that prayer by Councilmember Taylor. It was more than words, it was what I felt as well on everything. And without Ernie here, I did want to bring up water. We met yesterday morning. We're thinking, how are we going to message this water? We met as a conservation committee, what, about three weeks ago, Royce? Yeah, and we thought, okay, we have a runway here. Mother Nature could change on us, and so we wanted to kind of have some strategy, but let's wait and see. Well, every day that we wait, the grimmer it gets. And so American Fork has a very good portfolio. We will be able to take care of the water needs of our city, but we will need everybody's help and cooperation. Through all the growth that we've had, the water associated with it has come with it. But it was never intended to operate on its own. It was always in concert with the mountains. And we're seeing our snowpack that we would love to be able to be using in June disappear on us right now. And so things will go as scheduled. We are going to be stressing all year long conservation. Met with all the major water users. Chief among them is ourselves, the city, with all our open space. I think it's going to be kind of the cool end thing to have dry grass this year. Dry spots will be acceptable. It's not a show of neglect. it's a show of doing your part. So it's, our staff is prepared, and they have contingencies. If this happens at 2 in the morning, they will be changing, but they'll have to be very nimble this year. So appreciate the prayer, because I believe in prayer. That is the mayor's report. We'll move on now to the common consent agenda, consisting of 8 items. Has there been any noted changes for the minutes? Terry-Lynn, is there any questions on this common consent agenda?
Mayor, I'd move approval of the common consent agenda.
We have a motion by Councilmember Taylor,
Second.
second by Councilmember Holly. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Hunter?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Councilmember Holly?
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor?
Aye.
Okay, item number 1 on the action items is a review and action on approval of the authorization to release the improvement durability retainer of $7,188.20 for American Fork Towers located at 802 East and 1050 South. Any question?
Mayor, I move to authorize the city engineer to issue documents and/or payments to release the improvements durability retainer of $7,188.20 for American Fork Tower. Find that the quality construction materials have endured without evidence of unusual depreciation where non-conformance of city standards or need for remedial action.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Holly,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hunter. Any discussion on this motion? I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Hunter?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor?
Aye.
Councilmember Holly?
Aye.
Item number 2 is a review and action on a resolution approving an application for a land use map amendment known as Jasper Lot Land Use Map Amendment located at 570 East Main Street. The land use map amendment is for .26 acres in the residential high-density land use designation and is proposed to change to the general commercial land use designation. Thank you for coming up.
thanks,
Patrick,
Mayor.
if you'd please settle.
Yeah, our planning commission recently recommended approval for this. There's a couple points that I want to bring up to the council, and I'll show you some aerials and mapping of the area as well. There are some concerns just related to the existing pattern of development in the area, the current underlying land use, and the proposal for this land use change, and how that would create an island of new land use in that area. And then the conflict with that, but also the existing zoning that's there, because the zoning adjacent to this property matches the proposed zoning that would eventually come if a land use were to be permitted. So there's a couple layers to the project. The property itself is it's only coming in as the single parcel of land, just 570 East Main Street. It's currently under the R2 7500 zone in our land use residential high density designation, proposing to change to general commercial land use. The only viable zonings that would be associated with general commercial land use in this part of the city would be GC1 or GC2. Generally, it would be the GC1 because that's the adjacent zoning. The GC2 would be more of a primary frontage elsewhere out along State Street, 50s, some of the more prime retail corridors in our city. We need to just move on to the first map, please. So I've done a side-by-side comparison of just the land use and the zoning. The black box just shows the parcel in question. There's, as you'll see, land use changing to a general commercial land use. It would be the only general commercial in that area. The brown to the south of the subject property is existing general commercial, so there wouldn't be any extension of the boundary, separated by the road for the area across from it. And the zoning then itself, you can see currently just a little small island of R2 7500 wrapped around by the R4, which is then further wrapped by more R2 7500. The GC1 zoning could potentially fit in that area. Adjacent zoning is GC1. None of the adjacent parcels are developed out as a general commercial type of development, with the exception of across the street. I wouldn't consider that to be adjacent. It's across the street. you go to the next slide, please? This is just a street view grab of the property in question. It's just the property central in the image. There's a business use to the left of the subject property. It's not developed or built out in a typical new or more intense general commercial use. And a lot of the other properties along that street frontage are still in residential uses. Go to the next, please. The potential impact then of changing that may impact the overall character of the street. I've provided the intent of what the GC1 zone is, and it really it's really for establishing a general commercial zone or place for wholesaling and retail activities and services. It will bring further intensity to that area, more so than has been realized at present. And I think that's just because the adjacent properties are still in the residential use, even though they are zoned for a general commercial. Next, please. So with that then, just so you have an understanding of the intent, I've also listed the permitted uses. That will give you a better understanding if a land use change were to be permitted and a further rezone application submitted to the city and that subsequently approved. These are the type of uses that you could expect to be in that area. There's a couple more slides after this. It's quite a long, lengthy section of permitted uses. Goes from the most intense down to some more minor intensities. Next one as well, please. So City Council has the ability to determine if this really meets the intent of future development patterns that you want to see in that part of our community. Even though Planning Commission has recommended approval, it's within your purview to follow that recommendation or to decide otherwise.
So is the rest of Main Street to the east residential currently on the zone?
To the
Is this the
east.
zone map?
Well, not all the way.
Can you go back to the
That's when you get to the
zone
corner.
comparison, please?
You pass this development right here, it's commercial.
To the west it is.
To the east, it is.
It leads up to the
Well,
light,
on
to
700.
the
Yeah.
light, right, that
Yeah.
semaphore.
But the zoning is not. Well, you gotta go through the bid.
You know, is the applicant currently here? I just want to make sure if they are here, I would invite them to come up. But,
So this is adjacent to Sydney's then?
Yes. That's it's the sliver.
Can you go down
parcel.
one, just the picture? I think this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, where that's the
building.
pin.
Yeah.
So right now, this isn't a business, right?
That's correct.
It's just a residential house.
It's got the big shed in the back that he wants to use
Yeah.
for storage.
So,
If he
and
wants to make any changes, he's got to bring that back for.
Be a site plan, and my understanding is that if they want to bring it to code that we don't permit, if they want to make any changes with a site plan for the property, our GC1 zone doesn't permit any residential use. So it would be for the entire property, not just the portion that they want to use at the back. So they run into the issue of having what looks like a relatively new build on the site. Trying to avoid helping with one issue, causing another, and
So forgive my ignorance, but what is that lane that's between the dog shop and this property?
This is a
Going to a
driveway.
shop in the backyard.
Yeah, I think this is a driveway.
That's the driveway.
Yeah.
His driveway to the back.
Yeah, just a
It's
gravel.
It's what I'm.
Yeah, that's what it looked like on a map too.
It's a separate owner.
No, I think
No,
it's the same lot.
I
it's
think
all
it's,
a part of-
it's
all a
looking
part
at
of
the
this
county
lot.
parcel map, it appears that that's on the subject property.
Yeah. And the business isn't allowed, right? If it's not GC1, like you couldn't have a plumbing business on residential.
you could run your business as a home occupation, but the way our ordinances are currently written, you can't use any of the detached accessory structures or an attached garage on your property as a as a part of your business. It has to be the primary footprint of the residential part of the home.
I mean, I was talking to David about this yesterday, is that, like, I don't want to get in the way of somebody having a business in our city. I'm not super, super excited about having this little GC island. And I'm not sure that we want, kind of like what it said in the planning commission notes, where it said the trend was towards commercial. I'm not sure that's what we want, that area to turn commercial,
Well,
because,
it wouldn't be a commercial zoning island. The adjacent parcel to the west is GC1.
it should be a land use.
It's the land use would be its own, would become an island.
That's
So,
Yeah, why are we changing the land use and not the zoning?
because the zoning is informed by the land use. We're
But
trying
not those
to-
other, all those other ones are not.
I know, yeah. Tried to solve some of that with a rezone recently, but.
I mean, we've been down this road a little bit with the corner of Fifth East and Main Street, the car lot that was there. We had to change that and kind of bring that in compliance.
So that was kind of my question. I'm sure that you've had to deal with the issue of having a residential, in fact, further down on Main Street, I recall, like what happens when somebody has a house that they then want to turn into a commercial where customers are coming in and they have to bring it up to commercial code?
Yep.
Like,
We would treat that with new permits and everything, but they wouldn't have so it would be changing the use of the home from residential to a commercial structure, so they would bring everything up to commercial code standards. They wouldn't be living in the property anymore. The challenge with this is that there's the home at the front of the lot, and there's the shop at the back of the lot, and the site plan would require the entire property to come in to conformity with the permitted use list for the GC1 zone, and there's no residential uses permitted in the GC1 zone.
So, I'm sorry, maybe I missed it. So the applicant wants to keep that residential, the house, and just use the,
I'm not,
oh, okay.
I'm not sure about that. My understanding is that they want to use the shop space.
And not use the
The
house?
the
They want-
assumption is also utilizing the house still.
According
So
to
you-
planning commission minutes, the house is set up perfectly for a few small offices, is what he said.
Well, that's what I
So
was thinking.
I didn't get the feeling they were gonna live there.
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. It wasn't gonna be residential. The whole thing was gonna be commercial.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
In that case, then, yeah. That wasn't information that was shared with me.
so in that case, if it's professional office, do they have to bring it up to code, to commercial code? Yeah, I've dealt with this before. It is really tricky.
That's an occupancy type. It's based on the occupancy type that they have, what they would need to do. If it would become a retail store versus a professional office, there's different occupancy types that would have different triggers for what would need to happen. That's all just handled differently in the IBC.
This sounds a little crackers, but what do we determine is, I mean, so the dog grooming / housing / whatever it is to the east, that's not retail, is it? I
No,
mean,
that's a service commercial.
And it's not in a commercial zone?
No.
Or land use.
Commercial?
Service commercial.
So it's
My
out of
understanding is
compliance
that
kind
they
of
have had it, sorry.
They've had it for a long time.
They've had it for a long
Okay.
time, and from what our records, they have had a business license.
The whole time, okay.
You know, and it's
For
kind of.
numerous years, I don't know where the
Historical,
business
that
license
has
came
always
from.
been a business.
Always been a business.
I spent 1 hour a week from the time of 3 to 8 in that beauty salon.
Mother's getting her hair done in there, that was the spot.
Yeah,
What was it?
Irma's,
Irma's, that's Irma's House of Beauty.
yep.
I can vouch for that.
If you needed to learn something, you went to Irma's and just listened. So,
Well, I mean,
you know what, I'm gonna.
I guess I don't mind if they have a commercial spot there. It's just like,
You know what, this is kind of a fundamental, I mean, it seems easy, but then, you know, it's kind of a slippery slope. And it's, you know, you think, where's the property rights? Are we going to deny them where they have their property rights? But then, yes, we have to be able to plan a city, and having neighbors that have like uses by each other. You can't just spot zone McDonald's anywhere. Or, that's a big stretch, but it's the same methodology in my mind, that there's just danger in just pulling out one spot and changing the use of it. And shame on us for making a mistake, but there's no sense making it twice either. You know, if it was made before something was overlooked.
There's a constraint by the lot size that it's the intensity of what can ever go in there is going to be dictated by how much area is there. The intensity issue will come if multiple lots are consolidated. That's when you run the risk of something different happening, but currently there's multiple owners, different owners on each side of the property and even to the south of the property. As you get further into that general commercial zone, it's
a tricky spot in
Yeah.
our city, for sure. And then get back,
They have that bizarre spot across the street where they've got, it's a nice building, but it's still out of place.
And they changed their zoning recently, I believe. They used to be just an island of professional office, and there were some uses that were in there that were, they weren't viable anymore. New uses were trying to come in, and they didn't fit in professional office. They wanted dance studios and a yoga studio, and they were general commercial. And that, when we brought that to council, that was a very, very simple understanding. We just extend the zone. It's compatible with what's across the street, and it's its own island already. We actually solved one issue by getting rid of via one island. It's in council's discretion of whether you think the use is acceptable as they move forward. In the past, we ran land use changes and zone changes together. They're different processes and they're different application fees and different steps throughout the whole thing, and sometimes the land use would fall and someone's already paid significant money for the next part of it. So we've brought these forward individually now, so that someone finds out on the first hurdle, they haven't paid for the rest of the rest.
All right. Any other questions?
This is tricky, because
It is.
you've got the Fifth East and Main Street, then you have Premier Auto, which is sort of surrounding that corner. Then you've got what appears to be an active business in a residential zone. Residential medium density, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about the dog place?
No, there's
To
like
the
this.
east.
Oh, well,
I'm sorry, to the west, excuse me, to the west.
Yeah, there's this like Rivendell Tree Experts or something that's right southwest of it. That little triangle kind of looking spot.
Be
But then you have,
south of this property, next to the train tracks.
well, it L shapes underneath. It's west and south.
Yeah.
And, I mean,
Well, would it be a nice place for someone to live?
well, my point is, I'm sitting here going, I'm not in favor of having an island, but it doesn't appear that it's an island, only in code, only in approval.
on land use. And
Only in
I guess
land
the
use
other question
at this
is
point, but-
is that a direction the council wants us to look at, of tidying that land use up in that area in the future? And we can have that discussion at another point, but it's, as we go through this larger process, is that an area of the city we need to look at?
Well, yes, I mean, technically, so the current zoning, there is an island. If we change this one, it creates an island in the cities, which ironically,
It's not a residential.
it's not a residential either.
It's-
That's what's
yeah.
funny, is that everything around it is currently being operated, or it appears. But I also don't,
Applicant the owner of that house? Were they once living in it?
It changed ownership
I know
recently.
I know the applicant is a plumber by trade,
Tony, yeah.
but I don't know how long they've owned it. I mean, I could pull up the
It's
county record.
changed, it's changed recently. It's Jasper's family now, but when I looked on our GIS system, which gets updated every now and then with the county data, the last update had a different, since it was updated, there's a different name in there.
I mean, I could.
So
click
Jasper's
on
isn't
it right
reflected on
here.
our GIS system, but
They're listed on it currently.
on the county page.
On the county
But
website.
I'm talking about on our internal GIS
Oh.
mapping.
It looks like in 25 is when it changed, or 26. There was an Imelda Neiman,
That was the one that,
and through 25. So.
I'm kind of leaning towards the fact that it's probably not a great residential neighborhood to live in. Like, just logically thinking about where we would maybe want the land use and zoning to go, it might be,
So I'm not necessarily against that either. I'm curious, we've been talking about the stepping of
Sure.
adjacencies
Sure.
from a residential to a commercial. And help me understand what that would mean. I mean, I guess having Sydney's there, that would be a natural buffer from,
well, and you have the high density to the east of it, between that and lower density further east. So it is.
Main Street steps down then as well, and
Yeah.
you get down to where Gunther's is and the little strip mall type of development just to the north of them, on further east. Is the road a good boundary line? Is Main the good north-south boundary on that?
it's kind of interesting that there's a high density component in the middle of those medium densities.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah, it is
also
weird.
awkward.
It's just
Yeah,
that one
it is
straight
weird.
line of
Well,
Yeah.
and combining it with the apparent commercial uses that are happening on the residential medium density.
yeah.
This is where it's like, it's just as awkward to me for the commercial one that's on the north side of the property, of the street. It's like, that seems just as backwards as it should be the other way.
You know, it's safe to say, I think we're all kind of on the fence. Is there anybody that's tipped on one side or the other that just wants to put
Yeah,
out
I
a
mean,
motion?
I'm
Because
happy
if
to.
they do it, that, at least we can kind of bring
Yeah.
this to some kind of a conclusion.
Agreed, you guys can decide, and I'll just say that it's basically what I'm thinking, like, looking at, would I be able to sell this house as a residential house that someone would want to live in? I don't think so, so under that, I will move to adopt a resolution for the proposed land use map amendment located at 570 East Main, from the residential high-density land use designation to the general commercial land use designation.
I second.
You have a motion by Councilmember Carroll and second by Councilmember Holly. Any discussion on this motion?
Did you, when you guys were looking at the map, who is directly west from the old Birmingham home? That red?
Yeah, that one looks like it's residential.
Zach and oh, I'm sorry. That is Catherine Crooks.
That's not Rivendell tree.
That is what it appears, is that they come in from the backside, and that is. They may be, I don't know any, I don't even know who that is. She apparently has owned this for some time, since like '09 at least, so.
Yeah, that's,
Wouldn't
that's
surprise
the only
me.
one that I'd be interested,
That's
the
what I,
residents, everybody else is
Yeah.
commercial.
but if the whole backyard's being used as a tree service entity, and it's like,
Yeah, it looks like that, there's a big dirty
that's
lot.
what it appears, but.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of sheds and dirt lot back there.
You know, it might be a different environment, but for the railroad too. That railroad it makes things
Yeah.
tough in the back of it. Okay, I have a motion and a second, and I'll call for a roll call vote. Councilmember Holly,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Item number 3 is review and action on a resolution to accept the petition for annexation of the Buckwalder Meadow View Ranch 2 annexation consisting of approximately 96.409 acres at 1,000 South and 100 East. Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks, Mayor. This was previously before you under a different name. Council had denied the petition to annex because it was going to create an island. We're going to split the existing island into two and leave a more challenging piece of land to annex into the city in the future. The applicant is bringing this back. It incorporates all of the areas that were going to be left out previously. This is not the annexation agreement stage. This is just council looking at this from the high level of the boundary around all of this land. Is this an area that we want to bring in? And we will discuss the terms in the future when the ordinance for annexation and the agreement comes forward. This is just looking at it from the perspective of a petition to consider annexation, and the council will make that determination as a yes or a no.
Mayor, I move to adopt the resolution accepting the petition for annexation of the Buckwalter Meadow View Ranch 2 annexation consisting of approximately 96.409 acres at 1,000 south, 100 east.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilmember Holly, second by Councilmember Taylor. Any discussion on this motion? I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Holly?
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor?
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Okay, item number 4, a review and action on a resolution regarding American Fork Irrigation shareholder discount agreements and long-term rental agreements. We've kind of had this one teed up for a little bit, and tonight felt like the right night to actually address it, talk about it, and so that's what we're here for. Is there any questions? Do we need, we don't have Ernie here. David's really good. I'm pretty good at knowing what this is, but questions, concerns? Let's just start the ball rolling.
Who's presenting it, Mayor?
You know what, Dave, can you just?
Yeah, I'm happy to
Heather,
talk about,
yeah, go ahead.
if you have questions or anything, I
Yeah.
can talk about that.
Nothing
You have
about
a
this is
specific question, Councilmember?
substantively changed for quite some time. Since our work session,
I guess I'll just, I'll go back here, but Shelley and Mark, their comments from the public comment time, our family's in a similar situation. This has been 2 years. It's sort of ridiculous, frankly, the process and the time. It's tiresome that it takes this long to get worked out, and obviously, I know we're all trying to work on it, but, I don't know how we come to an agreement when we don't know what that agreement is yet. I've been promised that we're those that are in the works, that is the promise. I hope that's the case. I would hope that, that is the comment, and I would hope would be part of whatever motion is made, that anybody that's been in the works and for years or months or however long in this process, it gets tiresome. And I know we're all busy and stuff, but it just, this is one of those things where it's like, whatever motion is made, in my opinion, needs to acknowledge the fact that, and put it in record so that it doesn't get missed. So that's why I was asking who's presenting, because I'm curious what's actually presented, not, I know we're beholden to whatever's in the packet, but or really whatever's in the motion that's made, but yeah.
Yeah, I would say if there is going to be a caveat made in the motion, that we be very specific about that language. So if it is the city council's intent that any party that has initiated this process before the resolution has passed, the city will continue to work with those parties and honor any complete agreement after those negotiations are completed. So if there is a motion and you want to incorporate that caveat that I've stated on the record, you could just refer to that as part of your motion, if that's helpful.
I think that has to happen. In my opinion, if you started a process, that you should have the ability to finish it up.
Okay.
I don't really understand the complexities of it like you do,
I don't
Councilman
either.
Hunter, but I do feel like if you're kind of grandfathered in, if you're vested in a way, that if you started that.
So I appreciate that, because that's exactly, there's enough complexity to this that I certainly don't begin to suggest I know it all, even though we're in the throes of it ourselves. Shut up, Clark. I know it's the first time you've ever heard that. Just kidding. No. But
When he said I didn't know it all.
I just wanted to make sure that Clark about fell out of his chair. There's a first time for everything, Clark. No, I want to make sure that obviously it's written on there, but we're essentially saying that any new shareholder agreements would be under this new proposal where they would not have that ability. But anybody that either has them currently or is in negotiations to finalize them, has already been in negotiations to today's date, I'm totally comfortable with that. I love the provision that we're not trying to make some, carve out some benefit for development, where we're trying to take water shares from this parcel of ground and make some benefit somewhere else. We're obviously collecting that water as we do developments, but the agreements not being a part of that is in my opinion, a great decision. I just want to make sure that we're maintaining the integrity of the commitments that have been made for a couple decades now. And that to me is, I just want to make sure that that's the case. If that's the case, then I'm happy to make that motion.
Yes, that is the case. So any agreements that are in place or any that have been in process, like Heather said, we will honor all of those agreements. Those are still going to be in place. And, it's been 19 years since the irrigation system started. It's been a few years, so there are several agreements in place because of that time. But yeah, anybody that's in that process to get those done, we will make sure that those get finalized.
Perfect. And then the water essentially stays with the land. That's the other.
Yeah, the water stays with them.
And I do think, during public comment period, we like to understand and learn, but there needs to be set on the public record, the mandate on those meters, we fought.
Great point.
Oh, yeah.
Great comment.
We fought. We fought against it. I mean, every city that I know of collectively fought. In fact, it was delivered up as an unfunded mandate to the tune of $12 million we fought. And so here we are today. There's been a lot of changes because of that. So, that was one we had our eye on from the start to the end.
So Heather, with that comment, you made the suggestion. Will you just remind me so I can make a motion?
Yeah, in fact, all right, I'll just try to read some language into the record and we'll just try to keep it clear. So any party that has initiated contract negotiations with either the city or the canal company before March 24th, 2026, those negotiations will be honored, completed, and finalized if agreed to by all parties.
Perfect. So with that provision, I'd move to adopt the resolution addressing shareholder discount agreements and long-term rental agreements for American Fork Irrigation Company shares.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilmember Hunter.
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Carroll. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, I will call for a vote. Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Councilmember Holly.
Aye.
Okay. And for the public record, Councilmember John is not present. He might not make it tonight, it looks like. So item number 5 is a review and action on acceptance of the withdrawal of an application for the Julie Clark annexation.
Mayor, I move to accept the withdrawal of application for the Julie Clark annexation.
Okay. I have a motion by Councilmember Holly.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Hunter. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, we'll call for a vote. Councilmember Holly.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Item number 6 is review and action on an ordinance amending Title V of the American Fork City Code related to business licenses, revising application requirements, fees, appeals, revocation procedures, and bonds. So this was on our agenda 2 weeks ago. It was pretty slim on this.
Yeah.
So Councilmember Holly was not comfortable with it, so we tabled it. And so now it's here before. This was in a work session. Again, you were out of the country during the work session, so you know what, Heather's the best one to address any questions. So I think maybe it's Councilmember Holly, how do you feel about this as you've learned more about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm still not super comfortable. I did talk to David yesterday at length about it, and he was really good about explaining what had gone in the work session and helping me understand it. But I think I still prefer that if the initial license application, and then if there's any revocation, if that's the city staff, and then the appeal authority is the city council. As an elected body, as a group of people that is directly representing the residents of the city, I think that having it be city staff first and then us outside of that is preferable in my mind to having city staff for the appeal process. And so that's kind of where I'm at. I probably wouldn't die on this hill if it's still the thoughts of the other three of you that we want to move forward with this. But I personally would prefer that it stay as is with us as the appeal authority, just because of how important businesses are and us to be aware. And I don't think it's something that comes up that often. I think we maybe have a couple of these a year.
I don't know if we've had,
If that.
Yeah, if that, and I think that like really the only two I can think of is the concrete crushing one and then the massage parlor issue. I think those are the only two in the over 2 years since I've been here. So I don't think it's a super burdensome issue, but I do think it's important that if a resident or someone doesn't live here but wants to have a business here has an issue with the denial, that they be able to present it to us and then have it on public record as well before us as a body. So those are my initial thoughts.
I actually, maybe help us understand where the heartburn could be, I guess.
Sure.
I didn't drive into that, but.
So, and I understand the city council wanting to be responsive to residents when it comes to business license applications. I will say, business license applications, it is an administrative function. When the city council sits as the appellate body, they are acting in a quasi-judicial fashion, which is not traditionally what elected officials do. There are some limited times within the city of American Fork where you guys do sit as quasi-judicial. But, so I guess the reason for it is it takes a policy that you as a city council have already adopted. It allows people who deal with it maybe more closely than the city council does on a daily basis. It allows your ordinances to be applied administratively and appealed administratively, as opposed to it coming back to you guys as elected officials to try to do a job that you don't usually do on a regular basis. I am happy to entertain whatever type of appellate system the city council wants. If you guys want it to go to the city administrator first with an ultimate appeal within 10 days after a decision to come to the city council, the appeal could be, instead of you guys holding a big hearing like we've had to do in the past, because you've had to develop the record as the judicial determining body, you could hear the appeal on the record that was established at the original hearing. I mean, there are lots of ways to go at this if the city council still wants to be involved. This statute's been around since 1998. The city of American Fork has transformed substantially since that time. I'm sure that city councils in the past had more time to focus on a business license, but there are so many businesses operating in the city right now that, anytime we can streamline a process for the applicant as well as the city staff, city administration, city council, it's helpful. It saves resources for everyone. But this is completely within your purview. You have discretion to do whatever you want in establishing the path for appeal for business licensing.
I guess I kind of fall on to that, Heather, is what are other cities typically doing, like at Orem?
It depends.
So it's like all over the place?
It depends. Yeah, it is. It's all over the place. It depends on the size of the city. Some cities actually hire a professional hearing officer to hear business license appeals, so it's not actually an individual employed by the city. Some people have, a lot of cities have their city administrator or their city manager be the appellate body, and some of them have their city council do it too. It just depends. It's an area in which every municipality in the state of Utah has quite a bit of discretion to build whatever system they think is most responsive to the residents. So whatever ultimate appeal process the city council decides to employ, however, I would continue to encourage the city council to adopt the majority of the proposed changes, because it actually puts structure into the appeal process that didn't exist before and addresses other issues that the city's had to look at over the last 12 months. So,
I think when we were talking about this, I viewed it more like an administrative role, but I can see the idea of having somebody outside of staff be an appeal body. I have not enjoyed the process that we have done. Not that it matters what I like or not, but I'm not quite sure how effective that really is. Because it is putting the council in a position to be a quasi-court when it's just not what we're used to, nor is it like feel very fair.
But neither staff.
But is that how it's written here, that they would be like a courtroom?
Well, it's the appellate, they are acting in that
Kind of.
position.
Yeah, so, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's
I
just
think
to
that's
be,
fair.
like, David would take the place of us at that point. I'd be the exact same
Yeah.
situation that David or whoever the city administrator.
The hearing.
Yeah, I just, so it'd be the exact same thing, is that instead of the 5 of us, it would be David or whoever in the future.
Well, and under the current ordinance, there is actually an appeal that goes to David before it comes to you guys.
Before it comes to us,
So,
yeah.
and that's another thing that
And
we're
it
trying
did.
to clear up, is there are 3 business license appeal mechanisms, and we are trying to
Yeah,
bring that into
to
one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so everyone knows, this is the process, this is how we
Yeah.
apply it, this is who we file, yeah, so.
I'm sitting here thinking, I don't know that I mean, I've been called to jury duty. I don't do that every day. I think we all have that opportunity in the system of government we live in, right? I mean, I don't think I have to be the expert at judicial affairs to sit in a judicial position and actually hear a case. As I recall, though, when we were doing, probably the most recent one that we all remember, there was some concern that because it's an open public meeting, then were there facts that were going to be disclosed that maybe are more sensitive than a traditional public meeting would be comfortable hearing, I guess. And maybe I'm off in left field, but
It's true.
I mean, as I recall, there were names that were intentionally
Redacted.
not redacted, but they were, hopefully weren't expressed, because that wasn't in the best interest of it didn't have a bearing on whether we did or didn't, but facts of the case led to, I don't know.
The record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, we had that from that standpoint, the massage parlor one, let's go down that way. We had everything laid out to us, everything that had been done by David prior to that, and then we had the full case laid out to us for us to be able to go through. And then we had that, we had the short explanation. I don't know, I think they're infrequent enough that I'm comfortable with the way it is. I mean, I get where you're coming from.
The way this is written or the way it currently is operating?
No, not the way it currently is, because the way it currently is just the three things, and again, that can come back to us the way it was, and we're trying to be able to streamline it, not just for the benefit of the council, in fact, secondary to the council, it's for the business owner to be able to go in and get what they need and move on. That's where I am, and in that rare case where it has to come back to, was it the city administrator and his staff to be able to be that second body, or that
Or
appeal body?
Right?
Yeah, it's the city administrator or designee.
Designee,
So,
that's right.
Yeah, so David would have discretion, I should say Mr. Bunker, would have discretion to determine
Yeah.
if someone else.
And I think if it's something that is that pressing, I mean, we could be polled or anything to be able to, or counseled with, as on an advisory role. So I could make a motion now with this new proposal and be perfectly fine.
Can I ask a question that's not related to that specific part of this? You had sent me an email and I never got back to you, I apologize. It's
Oh,
late.
no.
I think it was early Monday when I got it, but, I haven't had a chance to see it since then. Did we make a provision around those deliveries and businesses and things like that?
Yeah, we struck, the bonding section for the messenger services, that was
Life's changed a
eliminated.
bunch.
Yeah.
Perfect, that's, I just wanted to confirm, so I
Yes.
appreciate that. So,
You know, I remember being as frustrated about the time that things were perpetuated, like, we could organize and feel, and bring it together. Because this is rare, and that I fear that's going to come back. I feel like being nimble is very important. But you know what? I mean, I get the thought that, we're elected and buck stops with us, but we're in the same vein as we have boards and other things that we let staff operate under. ultimately, we are accountable through the people that we appoint in certain places. I feel pretty comfortable about David's objectiveness, or anybody else that might be there in 5, 10, 20 years, wherever it might be, to be able to take this on. And I do think it's a benefit to, there is some benefit to the applicant to get an answer and not be in a limbo, waiting for us to organize ourselves just so they can get some kind of an answer. And so,
And I agree, and that's why I'm saying, this is not something I'm gonna die on, but, I said, we're pretty fortunate with Mr. Bunker, right now, and we have a pretty good city council, but I think about, maybe worst case scenario, like if there's a weak city council and a strong-willed city manager or city administrator down the road, and just kind of railroading over and making bad decisions, this code would allow that, and maybe the city council in the future wouldn't even know business licenses are being revoked, and then those licensees have to go outside the city, to either go to ombudsman or district court. And so that's, as I said, so like, thinking like all scenarios, if there's a weak city council and a strong-willed city administrator, that's just kind of rolling over. But as I said, that's not a reason not to vote it, but that's just like.
But you're right. So from the standpoint of, being able to, our organization as it exists right now, we like and we trust the situation. Another city manager may not provide that same level of comfort. We also want to be able to have this be streamlined for the benefit of the business owner. But it happens infrequent enough that, it's these bizarro things like the massage parlor, the rock crushing was a little bit more mainstream, but I don't know. That's, Heather, what could be put in that wouldn't just make it so that the city manager was to rule on it and deny it? They'd say, well, our last ultimate thing through is to go to the city council or is to have, then we're right back to where we were, right?
Yeah, like I said, you could limit it. So when you heard the business license appeals last year, they were both de novo, right? You were developing additional record, taking additional evidence, listening to witness testimony, et cetera, et cetera. You could do a final appeal to the city council on the record that is already developed by the city administrator or his designee. So let the record be developed there, let all of that be done, and then the city council could review just the record. So, and then at that point, if the applicant doesn't like it, then they go to district court. So, but that would mean.
So they have recourse if they would need it.
Does that might give some backstop to a city administrator or whoever happens to be that designee in the event that it does go beyond the city into a district court? At least the city manager isn't on an island. It's council like, we didn't know this happened.
Yeah, so, and the district court would review the record as well, so.
I like that, creating, because we did have the scenario where they were bringing a lot of evidence and things we had already heard, even though we had tried to tell them we understood the scenario, but if they knew it was just everything that's already happened.
Is to the city manager or his designee, and a second appeal would be to us.
A final.
Or a final.
But it's no new information, it's just
Whatever was already presented on the record.
It comes to us like in a packet item kind of thing.
Yep.
No other information, then we can say, okay, yeah, we support that.
Or
Would
So
you,
not an additional presentation, not an additional dissemination of more information to you.
That feels better to me than the optics of
Yeah.
kind of a collaborative effort.
yeah, I like
Right,
that
and
too.
sitting in here with attorneys and going
Yeah,
back and forth, I would
exactly.
rather.
Yeah.
So if we could include that, I'll make that motion.
Can I
okay, I
ask,
was gonna
I'd like to
ask
ask
if-
one more question. I think I know the answer to it, but it's worth asking. Can you see a place that is lawful, that it can be overturned, and the business has to comply with, I'm thinking of speed, and especially the reoccurrence, because as soon as we shut that one down, 2 weeks later, they were trying to get back up.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think
And-
to address that, the appeal period would need to be a reasonable amount of time, but it wouldn't need to be something like 30 days,
But could it
right?
interrupt the business right then with the appeal to reinstate it, or something that could stop him on an administrative decision, and the appeal has the ability to restore something. Is that just kind of hard to bring in? Because I like the ability to stop something on a dime when it's something like what we dealt
That's
with before,
true.
because I do,
That's a good point.
Yeah, I can look at trying to craft some language that might have some type of estoppel effect during that appeal period, but until there's a final appealable order, it's pretty hard for the city to enforce.
That's a really good point.
You could address it by, doing a 10 business day period for appeal. I mean, that's reasonable enough if you give the applicant the opportunity to. The question is how quickly are they going
Yeah.
to get in to see you?
And if it can happen in 10 days.
Yeah, probably not.
It would have to be,
2 weeks minimum, right? I mean, on rare occasion, it's slightly longer.
December, right now, we're gonna be, we're gonna have some gaps. So I guess we could always,
special
we
meetings.
could always do special sessions, something prior to a work session.
And I wonder if you could even call a special session too, like, hey, like, David, Mr. Booker says no on a Monday, and they're like, we're gonna keep on operating, well, we get pulled in Tuesday even, as a special meeting, I don't know how much notice.
That, I don't think that would be a reasonable enough time.
And we couldn't notice it legally anyway, so it wouldn't.
Does the Honorable Mr. Bunker agree with that, or what?
I'm no lieutenant colonel, guys.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's,
I actually hadn't considered that.
That's
a
a-
great point. because
that's why it's an administrative,
That's why it
yeah.
is valued.
So you said leave it like as is? As is
You know what,
before.
so here's an idea. We pass it tonight as is, and we just have Heather look into it, and we can revise it to have a stopgap immediately with the appeal to determine whether the business continues rather than stops it altogether. Am I making sense to you, Heather?
Yeah.
If it can even exist, because I want to shut it, when something like that happens again, if it happens,
You want to be able to
I
stop
want to be
it.
able to stop it immediately.
I mean, we were told right then, though, as I recall, we were essentially threatened with litigation because you're going to get sued by a
Yeah.
candidate or whatever.
But at that point, they did have to stop because they had received a final
Yeah.
That's right.
Which I
determination.
guess that's my point, and I love being on the record, because we absolutely stopped that as soon as we could. I would gladly come to a special session if we had something like that again. Most of them are just not that critical. Well, I'm assuming, maybe I don't know, but I don't know.
Is there a way to have a provision where the city administrator would notify the council X days in advance of an appeal so that the council's fully aware that that's coming before the city administrator? That way, if you have any questions or if there's any concerns, you can ask those questions before that final determination is done. So put in the code, prior to the final determination, the city administrator will notify the legislative body of the upcoming decision. That way you guys all have all the information as well. I mean, that's the concern, right, is that you guys, that the city council wants to know what's going on, wants to know the facts, that it's not getting, there's not a business license being rejected or denied, without your knowledge. That's one of the concerns.
It's that, and I tiptoe that line, right, it's very rare that I'm on the fence of managing.
Right.
I don't really work a governing body 99% of the time. So
Yeah, because I don't know if I want to like micromanage you in any
That's, I
way.
don't want you feeling like, well, we gotta go tell everybody what we're doing, because that's not the point. But
Yeah.
if it does get elevated again, that would be at 2 levels beyond where it's now, oh, we need to have this meeting. I don't know. But, I don't know.
Well, now I feel completely confused.
Yeah,
I thought we were set.
That little parts are, made my neck a little sore.
You know, we could go 3 years and not see it again.
I know, it's true.
So
We do need to clean this up.
I was
though.
hoping that the state would give us some reprieve. I didn't see anything legislative based upon what we had before as a tool. And I think they're talking about it for next year.
I think I would be more comfortable with the appeal body still being, or an appeal body. Maybe it goes through you, not, again, not another hearing, but it goes through that office, and then it comes to us in the event that it's.
So do they get 2 appeals because?
Well, essentially, that is, but we wouldn't include the additional hearing.
Yeah, so you're talking review
essentially-
on the record as opposed to de novo.
Yeah.
So the only evidence that comes before the council is whatever record was developed at the initial.
Yeah, I mean, we literally had to say the record. We read
The whole thing.
Yeah.
word for word. It was kind of a different experience for sure. I think that's cleaned up, but, well,
I feel
you know what? We just need a motion and we'll
Yeah.
see where it goes.
So where did we land?
For expediting.
I did not.
I would, if we are going to have an additional appellate body, then I'm gonna need to go back and
That's what I
redraft.
was wondering, we should probably table this and have her look at it.
And we would also want to look at the timing, right? Can we put a stop to
Yes.
the activity
I love
while
that.
we're also
Yeah.
waiting for an additional appeal?
Can
I
I,
don't
can
know
I
if
make a
that's-
recommendation though? And see how you feel about this. I know what we have with this, and I mean, what we don't have is, right now we have chaos. This brings a sense of order, and it's at least a good place to be while we create, you know, some other changes.
I agree. I would like to pass this and
Okay.
then give
Okay.
Heather the leeway to come up with that
Okay.
separate appellate solution.
We don't have to go through that whole awkward process again.
I'm fine with that, yeah.
So Mayor, I would move to adopt the ordinance amending Title V of the American Fork City Code related to business licenses. I don't believe I need to say anything else
I'll
beyond
second.
that.
We have a motion by Councilman Taylor, second by Councilmember Carroll. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Holly?
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor?
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 7 is review and action on a resolution declaring certain real property to be surplus property and authorize the disposition of the property to the Utah Department of Transportation.
Mayor, I'd move to adopt the resolution declaring real property to be surplus and authorizing the disposition of the property to UDOT.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Taylor, second by Councilmember Holly. I am just going to state for the public record, approximate address is 700 West, 900 South. Okay. And any discussion on the motion? Call for a vote. Councilmember Hunter?
Aye.
Councilmember John?
It's not
Or
here.
Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Councilmember Holly?
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor?
Aye.
Item number 8 is a review and action on an agreement with Cedar Hills for public safety services. This has been passed by their elected body, and here it is before us.
Mayor, I'd move to approve the public safety services agreement between American Fork City and Cedar Hills and authorize the city to sign the necessary documents.
We have a motion by Councilmember Taylor.
I will second, and I just want to say thank you to staff. I know this was kind of a hard one to come to agreement on. And really, our residents shouldn't have to pay for all of it. Like, we want to share the cost with Cedar Hills, so I'm hoping this will be fair for both parties.
And Cedar Hills passed it, so
Yeah.
giddy up.
We have a motion by Councilmember Taylor, second by Councilmember Carroll. Any discussion on the motion?
Can I just ask a quick question? Did I see something in here that's referencing the 2024?
So we put in the previous agreement that referenced previous years so that we had a baseline for what the costs would be as we escalate up.
Okay.
Yeah.
but as it relates to payments, is that, maybe that's the sheet that's talking about,
That's how we're establishing what was the cost in '24, the cost in '25, and the future costs going forward.
yeah, right, I'm just looking at that.
All right. You ready? You
As long as
okay?
you're comfortable with it, I
You
just want
okay?
to make it.
Okay. All right, I'm going to call for a vote. Councilmember Taylor?
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter?
Aye.
Councilmember Holly?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Item number 9, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move, Mayor.
I have a motion by Councilmember Hunter,
Second.
second by Councilman Taylor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Stand adjourned. Thank you very much. Good night.